Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah.
Don't know the time, yeah. Just know that I'm, one of a kind, yeah. What's on your mind, yeah. What hard to find, yeah. Beautiful mind, yeah. Still in my prime, yeah. Just know that I'm here.
What's up, guys? Pound Offs Anonymous, episode 29. Coming at you live from my shitty rinky-dink ass basement where my light's been flickering a little bit. So apologize in advance.
Looks good, man. I think it's great.
Well,
I apologize because I forgot my fancy microphone, and so you only get to hear me through my computer's audio today.
Well, that's okay, Jeff. Your voice still sounds great.
Thanks. It's like butter, smooth.
Well, you're a fucking musician. You get up there and wail. This is a cappella.
Yes.
So we got a pretty cool guest on. I've been excited to say the least for this because of the level of importance. When we started this podcast, he was number one on my list to have on this show. So it's taken us 29 episodes to get him on. Not his fault, definitely mine. And it was kind of intentional, and we'll get into that later. But without, who needs no introduction? This is my little brother, a steroid freak. Just kidding. Eric Conley. Thank you, Eric, for being here.
Heyo.
We need to pump in some like the Ultimate Warrior's entrance music.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be on here. There was some contract disputes, and got in, so that's kind of what took so long. You can tell the people that, Chris.
Yeah, that Eric asked us before we got on. He said he was waiting by the door for our makeup team to show up and get them dialed up.
Absolutely.
A little bit. Eric and I go way back, and he's been like a little brother to me since I got into high school, and for a while there I thought I was leading him down the right path, but maybe that was bullshit. Well, as we kind of talk about Eric's story, but Eric, I recognize that wall where you're sitting at.
Yeah, man. It's many nights down here in my former grandmother's basement. So it's my office now.
Nice.
And funny how life works, but yeah.
Awesome.
It's got a nice little 80s theme going on there.
I like that though, a little retro.
Could be 60s, I don't know, but yeah, it's my comfort zone, man.
Well, that's good stuff. Your grandma was one of a kind, man. She was always so welcoming. And,
yeah, man. And you were, I think, she always loved you and referred to you as Eddie Haskell.
That's your grandma and your mother. Yeah.
That could not be more appropriate.
Yeah, right.
We talk. Well, we'll get to that to your mother, but yeah, she pretty much coined me with that term out of the gate, and basically let me know that she, her and your father knew I could be full of shit, but I loved them. I loved them to death, and the goal of this episode, Eric, is to share your story and then not piss your sister off. Okay, so.
Yeah, good luck.
Right. Right.
Hope Jeff's monitoring that edit button. So that's a feat in itself.
We have a no edit policy, so whatever you say goes.
Well, we're gonna any angry emails we get from your sister, Jeff is HR. We'll let him handle.
Nice.
Oh, great.
So just to get it out of the way, Eric has two sisters. One of them, her and I were super close high school sweethearts, if you will, and
Easy, Chris, easy.
I think I think I could say that. And we're still close friends today. With we were all family. There goes that light, but that's why that's probably a sign. Like, hey, stop, take it easy. Okay, Diane. Anyway, we've done a lot of life together, and Eric and I were always had bonded all throughout Jennifer and I's relationship and friendship subsequently, and we've had a lot of fun together. And then it went sideways. We actually both took our own courses, as Eric and I did. I went one way, lived my life as he was, much younger than I am, coming up through. I think 44 years younger than I am.
33.
Yeah.
33. So what are you? You're 42, right? So a little bit more.
Get the fuck out of here. He's a ball breaker, Jeff. You got to watch him.
I love it.
I am 36, asshole, and I was
Listen, man, I seen that hairy chest before we opened up this video, so looked like a bunch of spiders having a meeting on you.
If I have to get up, it's because I got to go stir the fucking meatballs. All right, they're on the stove. The ziti's in the oven. Anyway, so Eric was doing his high school thing, and then once we all graduated, I think we started self-medicating, I think, for the lack of better terms, right, Eric?
Absolutely.
And just to get right into it, Jeff, we brought up our, how I was pretty close with Eric's mom, and this is kind of a heavier week, and the reason that Eric is just now coming on is because I always wanted to catch him, to try to honor his mother. Passed away 10. Go ahead, Eric. You tell the story. It's your story to tell, brother.
Yeah, no, it's when you first reached out, we coordinated about the date being July 15th. So that's mother passed away from cancer. So that's her actually 10-year anniversary. So it's couldn't make it happen just due to a couple different variables, work and just kind of time. But no, it's an honor, and I'm just honored to be on, man. It's I don't know how far to dive deep into it, but I'm just glad to be on, and it's an honor. Like you said, our relationship stems back years and years, and you have always been my big brother. Still to this day, I refer to you as my big brother. And, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's not I've heard of coincidences. I've never seen them. So here we are 10 years later, because my family loves you, still loves you, and we still keep in contact. And
absolutely,
thought is I would say in my family, my mom, she adored you, man. So it's an honor. I'm truly blessed to be on here, clean and sober, with you and Jeff. And once again, man, it's she's smiling down, brother. She's smiling down.
It gives me goosebumps, man. Jeff, she would. I would come in her house, and the first thing I'd tell her is how beautiful her hair looked and how clean her house was. And
that is a very Eddie Haskell move.
I mean, it was textbook Eddie Haskell. Chalk this up to 2020 that the real Eddie Haskell passed away a couple months ago. I mean, it's like,
yeah, I saw that.
Fuck, everybody's going down, man. So yeah, today's Saturday. What are we on, guys? The 18th. So the 15th, I think, was on Wednesday, and Eric, he's as busy as they get at work, and we said let's just do it on Saturday, and it's perfect because it'll release on the Monday after July 15th, and that was super important to me because I told Eric on Wednesday how I tangibly feel, if that makes sense, I in my skin, in my heart, in my gut, her pride in this kid and what he has overcome and battled through. And God, man, I'm like, I just want to Hulk the fuck up. Like, that is how I feel, okay? because I know it, Eric. She is, and you know it, right?
Absolutely.
Your family.
Every day. Every day, man. I talk, I'm not, you know this, Chris, I'm not, when we grew up, I didn't go to church. We didn't go to church. It was usually midnight mass, and family was half loaded.
I went to a couple of those with you.
I know.
That was fun.
So that was, we got in. We had to check the foundation before we walked into the. But outside of that, man, we didn't. But today, I'm a spiritual guy. I have a strong spiritual relationship, and without fail, every single morning, I go through my ritual and serenity prayer, and it's usually my time in the morning in the shower, and I keep her spirit alive. I talk to her every day. So, yeah, man, it's interesting how life has changed dramatically. Several years ago, I thought I was content in active addiction, thinking that almost 4 years later, that I'd be sitting here and like, not a chance. So I'm to join the statistics group.
It's well, and not only to honor you and your journey, to honor your mom and your family, that her illness and when she passed away, what it does to the family, and we've talked before. It's similar to when we're in our addiction, how it affects everyone around us, our family. When somebody that is part of a family that is sick and that passes away, it affects everyone, and so we want to honor that today. And on top of that, your story gives so much fucking hope to people, and you know that more than I do because you see it every day. And I want to get there, and I kind of want to start, Eric, from the beginning, of, if you can, go through how, when it became, it was partying and having a good time, to where it became a fucking problem. Not necessarily when you recognized it was a problem, but looking back, and then how it got under control. So I'm going to give you the mic. I'll try to help lead you. It's an open forum, brother. It's your show, and your story is so fucking powerful. It's wise of me to get out of the way. So, and I'm a fucking talker, so that's a little hard to do, but I'm gonna do it. Jeff, give me the cutthroat sign if I start. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Eric, when did let's go back to that night in high school. You were in high school. That me and your sister had to pick you up. If you remember that night.
Yeah. I only remember it because I woke up at your house. Right. And you and my sister, everybody, you specifically, Chris, know that she is never really shy or short with words.
This is where we got to be careful because.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think, Chris, if it was freshman year. So that night
of high school, Jeff.
Freshman year of high school, and me and one of my other buddies, we were kind of getting to that point in high school where it's time to explore. It's time to see what's out there. I think my era was more of like, we knew what alcohol, beer, and liquor is, but the exploration starts with opening mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, medication, their cabinet, and seeing what's in there. So we had a bright idea to take a medication, and I think it was Ambien, to try a sleep medication, right? Couldn't hurt, right? Just deductive reasoning, like, hey, when you're half sleepy, you have fun. Well, I don't know what the prescriptions or the medication, how much it is, but we took too much, point blank.
I remember that. You did.
At that point in our active addiction, not there yet, right? But that point in our lives, just trying things out, we took too much, right? And my family, I tried driving My parents' house at the time still is about 2 blocks away from where I'm at now. So I drove my Jeep from my house to, at the time, where my sister and grandma were living, which is not here, and couldn't make it there. It was a little 5-speed transmission Jeep Cherokee, and I'm pushing in the clutch with my hand, parked on the side of the road, trying to push my vehicle, me and my buddy. And to fast forward, one of my sisters called you, Chris. I'm sure it was filled with unpleasant feelings and a whole lot of what the fuck is taking place, what is happening. And you picked me up, man, looked out. And I think there's a side note when I stayed there that night. I think you were having a party at your house, but
I'm sure I was, yeah.
I can't speak to that, the certainty of that, but I think on copious amounts of sleep medication, I think I woke up, and so it must have been a pretty lively party. So that says anything, but that was really the tipping point between having a couple beers and then taking the next step and seeing what else is out there. Right. So by that point, we probably took a couple puffs of weed and stuff like that. I know we did actually, but that's when the pill era started. So that's really kind of the starting point of what led to, really crossing that imaginary line of addiction and graduating through the timeline into what ultimately led to heroin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kid about your sister. She, Jeff, you think I got a mouth on me. She's a firecracker, but it's because she fucking loves you more than anything in the world, and we know that, you know that, and she's you'd think she was a full-blown Italian sometimes with that mouth, but she's got a huge heart, and she was watching her brother. She was fucking freaked out. We both were, because, I mean, he was a freshman in high school, 14, 15 years old, and I was a senior, and she was, I think, in freshman year in college. She graduated a year after or before me. Always had a thing for older women. My wife's much older than me. She's gonna kill me if she listens to this fucking episode. However, we were just, I mean, drinking whiskey and Captain Morgan and everything you could get, smoking weed. But I personally was never a pill guy. And I've seen people fucked up on drugs, but when it was Eric, it hit me. Like, it was like, what the, because as you know, there's laws now. You freak out when you don't know if somebody's, especially when you're intoxicated and using, whether it's alcohol or not, you don't know if that person is fucking falling out or what they're doing. And it's, in the moment, it's so hard to make a decision. Do you call the police or the ambulance, or do you just try to get this motherfucker awake, right? And it's led to people dying. I mean, that's a whole thing out there. I'm sure Eric has seen it and sees it and has conversations about it all the time, doing what he does for work, and we'll get there. But
Chris, you were the first person. You were the very first person to talk to me about the pills, right? And I remember you saying, "Hey, listen, that's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's one thing to have a couple beers and maybe take a couple pulls off the bong or something like that, right? That's what, we're normal, right? Exploration of what's out there and other substances looks like, right? But you were the first person to say, like, listen, man, that pill stuff, it didn't matter. You didn't, categorize any particular pill. You just said pills in general. So you were actually the first person to have that talk with me. Like, listen, that's no good. That's no good. So
yeah, whole lot of fucking good it did. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Nice pep talk.
Yeah. Yep. Hashtag fail. No, I don't. It and it sounds don't take pills, but drink 2 bottles of fucking whiskey and shoot some Rumplemans, right? And do all kinds of crazy shit, right? Like, so, yeah, words of wisdom, right?
Like a responsible 15-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. And we got Eric. Eric had an interesting freshman year in high school, thanks to the summer going into freshman year, I got him arrested.
Yeah.
Me and
responsibly drinking Rumplemans. So
just don't do any pills. That was I forgot it.
Do you know what the cops said to me that night?
Oh no, what's that?
So the background for the listeners and the viewers.
All 6 of them.
Yeah, right. We went to a party. We left. My sister left early, and for whatever reason,
we got in a fight. It's just
I tried to church it up, Chris. I tried to throw you a bone there, but
it was her fault. Fucking A, right? It was her fault.
And so when she left, you were going to take me back to your house. I'm staying the night at your house, and I don't know who, but someone had a bright idea to take the trash bag full of 200, 300 empty beer cans and get rid of them, right? Like, just take it with us. Pile it in the van. There's only 6 of them, and it's in the middle of the early morning, right? 2, 3 a.m. And also, let's go look at the neighborhood where these nice $1 million homes are being built. So we took a tour, Jeff, and just viewed everything, like the nice new community that's being built. And so when the cop pulled us out, it was one by one. I was the last one to be pulled out of this van, which, since I was, figuratively speaking, still wearing diapers at 4, right? The cops probably also thought, what the hell else is going on here? But the cop said, how old are you? And when I told him, I think I was 13 and almost 14, because it was 8th grade summer. He says, you're not even old enough to have hair on your balls. That's what the cop said to me. And then he told my mom I was the most polite young man he's ever met. So he threw me a bone, called me a young man. Still a wet behind the ears boy.
Little did he know. He was doing keg stands. He was, pour me another one, Right.
Right. Had the hat with the 2 cans on it.
Yeah, nobody put a gun to his head, all right?
Yeah, right.
That was so we had some fun together. There's no doubt, and I think it plays in, and I'm not trying to be a shrink or a therapist here, so by all means tell me if I'm wrong, but at this time your mother was in remission, had beaten a round of cancer, but like I couldn't imagine your mom's cancer was, I mean, not like there's a weak kind of cancer, but there was nothing fucking pretty about the first round of cancer she had. And you always stop me, okay? I don't want to overspeak or speak out of turn. And
you're good.
I want to stay in my lane. But if I were your age going through that, watching my mother through that, that would traumatize the fuck out of me. And learning in this new life that I'm living, if you will, that a lot of like childhood trauma is a real thing, and it shapes us way more than anybody ever thought. So going through that when you were grade school, right?
Yep.
And everything that entailed with that first battle she had, and that's a fucking understatement. I wonder if that set everything up for trauma, because not everybody deals with it differently, right? Like, I mean, your sisters went through it, and didn't go down the path that you did. Right? But we deal with it differently, and just looking back and assessing it. And I think it's important to note that, because as your story continues here today, this morning, you're going to get to the next round that she had, and I think that how it got you, where you were.
Sure.
But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, Chris, it's like you said, everybody handles trauma, grief, loss, all of that differently. I found my sisters didn't ever, find the way I found to cope.
Mm-hmm.
And I only know that by counseling, rehab, members in recovery, 12-step fellowship, self-reflection, all that, right? I only know it that way. But my sisters and my family, my sisters, I have two older sisters, right? So Jennifer and Angie found it one way. My dad found it the same way. They just put their head down, pedaled faster, grinded harder. Now I know it as move a muscle, change a thought, per se, right? And I found an outside force that, by all accounts, worked. It just worked all too well for that imaginary line we cross from becoming that guy, after work having a beer to decompress and, or a glass of wine for dinner to, full blown, let me wake up in the morning and do what I need to do, which is, in order to just go operate through the day, get through the day. Right. So my way of doing that was, looking back, I was probably clinically depressed. Right. I was, anxious and a whole bunch of other feelings that only a therapist could tell me but I found a way that worked. Mm-hmm. All too well. I want to reiterate, all too well. And then, it created that timeline from something that helped me cope to where I can just continue operating through the day to now I'm physically dependent and mentally obsessed.
So as you progress through high school and then after high school, it was still pills, right? It was pills where you're...
Yes. Yeah. All through high school. High school, it just started out with, really it was painkillers, right? So it was painkillers through and through. No other pills. I tried them all. Tried all the other different, benzos and any speed and stuff like that. But painkillers was something that I found early on, and it was just a weekend thing. Hey, it's Saturday. Let's there's a party. Let's have a couple beers. Let's take a couple of Vicodin. We're good to go, right? And it was like that all through high school. All through high school, there was never one time that I woke up in high school and thought, man, I need that to go to school, or I need that. It was just a want mm-hmm. at that time. Later on, towards the end of high school, senior year, before I got to college, I seen individuals that were before me were getting pretty entrenched with Oxycontin. And I started to hear and see that they needed it on a daily basis. And I remember having a good conversation with one of my best friends at the time and asking him, like, man, how do these guys do that every day? That's crazy. That's bizarre. How can you wake up in the morning, get high, and then go to work or school or be around family, anything like that? Naive, not realizing how highly addictive the substances are, or any substance for that matter, if you don't, or if you abuse it. And I remember that conversation specifically. And so it's pretty ironic to where that's kind of a glimpse of my mindset of that happens to other people. That doesn't happen to me. Mm-hmm. So seeing it on a daily basis, and after high school going into college, that's when my mom got sick the second time. Now she is prescribed this pain medication, right? So she's prescribed painkillers, stage 4 breast cancer that metastasized to her liver and bones. Now I have access to them. She never took any. She doesn't know what they are. She's heard the horror stories, but she never took any. But somehow, not because of her, at the end of each month, she needed a refill. So it doesn't take very long for mom to say, who's taking the fucking pills? What are they, growing legs and walking out of the bottle? It was something where she was the first one and the only one, I believe, that knew I was taking them more regularly. Through high school, as she had her last time with cancer, she had, before she passed away, she had it for, I could be mistaken, my sisters know it a little bit better, but I think about 3 years she had it. She battled it. But towards the end, before she would go to work, I got to throw it in there. My mom she was an all-star. She was a beast.
100%.
She still, all through the week with stage 4 cancer through chemo and radiation and all the sickness, still getting up and going to work. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. And, but every day before she left, I would ask her, because she started hiding the medication, because if I'm in control of that medication, that pill bottle, gone in 1 or 2 days.
Right.
So she started leaving me 2 at a time, 2 at a time, 2 at a time, 2 more in the evening. Right. And I never disclosed that information because it gives a false interpretation of as if my mom was okay with it. She was not. She loved me so much that if I didn't get what I wanted, well, then I was a brat. I was stomping my feet, crying. I was the kid stomping to his room saying, "I hate you, Mom," and doing that stuff, right? So it was her way of making me happy, but yet still a concern. And she said numerous times, "Eric, I don't like this. I don't like this." But I don't have kids, but it's not hard to imagine that, if you're getting in an argument with your kids every day about you not leaving medication, pain medication that they don't need, but they want, and it's always creating a shit show of an argument, then they're going to love you enough to where it's going to say, okay, here it is. This ain't worth it, right? Especially when she's on her deathbed. Gotta throw that in there. She's on her deathbed. The last thing she wants to do with her son, her youngest, is argue every day, day in and day out, about not leaving pain medication that I'm currently abusing, right? So that laid the foundation for what led to full-blown active addiction, right? But that's by Eric's doing. So that's something I never shared with anybody. So that's the first, but that's how it unfolded from a socially, recreationally using it to full-blown addiction.
That's powerful shit, man. And when you hear somebody talking and telling a story, you try to relate and on your own personal experiences. And I had that. No way was he ever sick or anything. I had that with my old man where it was. It enabled it, but it was more we drank together and did other things together. And if he didn't want to supply at our party, I do the same brat shit you're talking about.
Sure.
So that hits home, man. And your sister, both of them actually used to always bitch because, they may fucking argue this, but I think it's a fact of life of who your mom's favorite was, and she used to go do that, go work the way she worked just so she could buy you shit, clothes, video games. Trust me, I used to hear about how unfair it was all day long.
Yep, the common phrase at the Conley's house was, I would fuck up, and my sisters would ask my mom or go gripe to her or bitch and moan, complain, whatever vernacular you want to use. And my mom would say, her catchphrase was, "He's just a boy."
I love it.
So that pretty much tells you, and I always say this, right? My dad is my role model, my mentor, my icon, my best friend, my everything. If I'm half the man he is when I grow up, right? Mm-hmm. I'll be successful at anything I do. My sisters are my best friends, my confidants. My mom, I am a mama's boy, through and through. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm a mama's boy. That should be self-explanatory.
Yeah, I know it, and your father, who I refer to as Mr. Conley, is a role model of mine as well. And I was thinking today before we came on he was always my go-to guy if I needed something fixed, especially car related. He's very hands-on and handy, and the typical guy that can fix about anything. And he told me one time I was, parked on the street over at your house, and he kind of smelt something, and he's like, "Hey, Chris," he's like, "you might be due for an oil change." Like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure it's been a long time." He goes, "Well, let me go pop the hood. Let me check the oil." Checks the oil. He goes, "Yeah, I'd say you're due for an oil change, seeing that there's no freaking oil in the damn thing." Your sister fell on the ground and almost pissed herself. But I was like, "Well, Mr. Conley," I've been kind of busy. He goes, "You're not too busy right now to get in the car. We're going to get some oil in your car before your dad's going to thank me later because you're going to blow the engine on this sumbitch." So anytime, anytime I came over and he was working on something, I was like, "Oh, Mister, I'd be happy to help." But I got this. My shoulder from a hockey game is I can't put any weight on it. So
yeah, that's what I tell Molly when she wants back rubs. I tell her, "Oh, babe, I got arthritis is setting in on my hand." It's tough. It's tough for me to move my hands like that. So I get it. So
just a little break because we're going to get to some pretty hard shit. Eric, since you brought her up, congratulations. Why don't you share with what your dumbass did last weekend?
So, took the plunge, man. Is that what the grown folks refer to it as? I proposed to my now fiance, Molly. She this September will be 6 years, so let's say 5 years it's taken me to start thinking about this. I've always had it there, but it became increasingly more real, right? And to kind of tie it all in, there was never a question of who or if. It was always a question of it. There was a lot of bumps along the way, right? On my doing. She stuck with me through the trenches. Active addiction, sobriety, constant return to use. Composed together some time, a year, 9 months, year and a half, return to use, and etc. So she has stuck by me. She is my rock. And she said yes, but she is.
That's important.
Yeah. There was a little bit of negotiation that was involved. I searched couch cushions and center consoles of the couple vehicles that I own to afford this thing they call a.
Come on with a couple old Cheetos with some.
Yeah, right. Well, any shiny nickel I could get. I tried to make a old Dorito crumb into flip it into a nickel if needed to afford this thing, but she said yes, man, and it's one of the happiest days of my life, if not the happiest day of my life. There, like I said, it's taken me a long time, but it was always because of me. I still to this day, it's all fear based, man. Am I gonna be a good husband? Can I provide for her? Can I change my ways to where it's time to, as I would say, be a grown man. No more boyish stuff. There's not that. It's the next step in the process of growing a family, which I'm excited for. But I will not sit here and lie. It's fearful, right? When you're in recovery, it's only a daily reprieve. So if you're not vigilant on your recovery, then you lose everything. So the first thing you put in front of that is the first thing you lose in active addiction. So it was a long time coming, but I am happy and I'm blessed and grateful that she said yes. So I wonder if she would have said yes if I would have just, maybe got her like a Cracker Jack ring and and did it that way. So, but we'll never know that one.
No, I think you made the right decision. Yeah. It looks pretty shiny on Facebook. We've never met in person, but I feel I know her well, and I think she kind of sweet on me a little bit. But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, she is hot. She's beautiful, I should say. That's more appropriate. Maybe one day Eric and I could, what brothers do, arrange a little swap or something. I'm just kidding. Hey, I hope Ashley don't listen to this. But anyway, congratulations. It's really a culmination of where you've gotten to. And let me give you some advice on the fearful stuff. I go down that rabbit hole, to use the cliche, quite often. Now being a father, when I start thinking about Charlie going to high school and living the life that we lived, right? And it freaks me the fuck out. Wrecking cars or, just all the possibilities and dangers. And because I don't know, I guess it's the way we lived, our minds go there. And instead of thinking of all the cool shit that could happen in high school, right? Like, playing sports and succeeding and doing well. Like, we don't think about that. We think about the catastrophic shit. So what I literally have to do is, as soon as I start going down that fucking path, I have to just get back to and this is a sobriety mantra, one day at a time. I have to get back to the present and enjoy what's going on now, and just have faith in God and how Charlie's going to progress, because it paralyzes you when you start have that fearful thinking. Am I going to be able to handle this shit? Am I going to be good enough? Is he going to look up to me when he's older? So that's what I do. It's, try it, because I don't want you to be fearful, and I say that, but here I do it too, because I know you're going to be a great fucking dad. You have the best role model on how to do it in the world. You've lived a life. You've seen the shit. These kids, when you have kids, and then with Charlie, they might be fucked because we know all the tricks to the trade, right? So yeah, it may be, so we got to give ourselves a little credit.
It's going to be a tough road for them, But here I say that, and we'll probably be the softest,
right?
Right? And Molly, to put that in perspective, Chris, is she's the I don't know the proper word, the yin to my yang. Like, I roll out of bed still to this day, right? I got to go through my process. But as my dad put it before, you're an angry young man, and still this day, right? I still, that's attached to my addiction is my temperament, my anger, that you are familiar with as well, Chris, right? We both struggle with that. A little hot-headed, and it's
we wrestled at Big Daddy's one night, all fucked up.
Yeah, right. Hey, remember this? You broke this before. Remember that?
I fucking repaid you. I felt so bad. I was on whiskey, Coke, and Xanax that night, and trying to tell. This is all on me. It was after your mom passed away, and I asked Eric to meet me at Fridays to just check in on how he was doing. So I'm like, "How are you doing?" Meanwhile, I got powder hanging from my nose. I've just done some fucking Xanax. I've got 2 bottles of whiskey in me and a couple shots of Rumpelmans, But hey, listen to me, Eric. Listen to me. I got it figured out. And I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that would have helped to know that night, because I think that was the first night I went to the doctor and was like, listen, I'm struggling with pain medication. So I had to go to the bar couldn't find a supply. So I was damn near halfway in active withdrawals. Meanwhile, you're fully blown high. It would have helped to know at the current time.
Yeah. But, well, we've had better ideas. And it was interesting. I ended up, we rolled around in a parking lot, and I think I broke one of his necklaces his mom gave him, and it was the worst thing that I still to this day makes my stomach sick. But I had to do whatever I could to try to fix that, and hopefully I made a, I didn't completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But to go back to your when you knew it, and your mom was sick and she was struggling. When I heard you say one time that when she finally did pass away, that was your pill supply ran out.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So I'll take it a step further back, right? This is terrible. It's unfortunate, but this is what active addiction does. So you, better than anybody, know how close our family is. Me and my two sisters, mom and dad, very, very, very tight family, right? Even further than that. Grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, like very close-knit family. The night she passed away, I'm heartbroken, right? I'm in the house I am currently, right? My grandmother's house at the time. But that's not the only reason I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken because my pill supply now will cease to exist. So it's the sleaziest thing that I think I could ever try to explain. And you just, for anybody listening, there's probably a cringe, but I believe in full transparency. And that's where if you don't get real with this shit, then people just see the aftermath, the product of the finished product or the continuing finished product of what sobriety, being clean and sober offers, right? But you have to talk about that real shit to see that every individual goes through their own trials and tribulations to get where they need to go. But that night when she passed away, the only thought on my mind are not only the one thought on my mind is that I'm losing my mom, my everything, my world, right? But I'm losing my supply for painkillers. So that in itself is that those emotions are so conflicting, right? Because you're angry and sad for one thing, then you're angry and sad for another. And meanwhile, I know that in about 12 hours, I'm going to start sweating. I'm going to be tired and I can't sleep. Hungry, I can't eat. Restless legs. My lower back's going to hurt. I'm going to be sweating. My palms. Who knew a palm can sweat, right? Everything happens. I'm going to watch my restless legs run all around the room and there's nothing I can do with it but to continue to get hot. So me having some wits about me, thinking that maybe this is the time to stop, I tried. Fast forward a couple days further, while I didn't want to talk to my family, I didn't engage in any of, physically I did, but mentally I was somewhere else in any of the funeral arrangements and such forth. Felt like shit. I felt like the Night of the Living Dead. I was the Walking Dead for those couple days. And at her funeral, I made a phone call and went and got high in the bathroom. At my mom's funeral. Like, that is just unbelievable, right? There was a point in time where I was ashamed to say that. Not today. Because people need to hear this and understand that you will go to any lengths necessary in active addiction, right? And for individuals that are not there yet, that is exactly what that is. That's the case of the yets. So when you talk to someone that just struggles with alcohol, and they identify as an alcoholic, and they say, "Well, I would never do, any blow or painkillers or heroin. I would never do that." Like, heroin addicts don't look like the guy below the bridge with a scruffy beard with an overcoat pushing a grocery cart anymore. No. They look like, they're wearing a polo shirt with some jeans, and they're 14 years of age in high school, right? And it's all as the growing process from pills to a smarter business transaction to heroin, or nowadays fentanyl, cheaper, more readily available. You get more bang for your buck, right? Isn't that the idea? Isn't that why, Chris, in the day we would buy a 30-pack of Natty Light and not a 6-pack? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's you get more bang for your buck. It's a better buy. So that's what took place. So in my mother's funeral, I snuck off to the bathroom and got high. And then when I did that, that's when the emotions started. Because prior to that, I had none. You literally are emotionless, and I had one thing on my brain. I mean that when I say that. I was physically dependent and mentally obsessed. And I got high in the bathroom. I got high on Oxycontin. I did not graduate to heroin at that point. But the wheels were turning in my head because heroin was becoming more readily available, and Oxycontin, who wants to take a pill? We used to snort that pill. And Oxycontin, whoever made it, Purdue Pharma or whatever it is, whoever the distributor, whatever kind it was, it doesn't matter. But you could no longer snort it. They got smarter and seeing what was happening to the youngsters out there, trying these pills and taking them for unprescribed reasons. And so they tried to make it to where you could not snort this medication. For me, that's part of what I enjoyed. So it was graduation time. I don't mean that in a positive light. I mean that it was realistically the point of where I was graduating from pills to heroin. And my mindset was, well, I can do heroin. I'll just snort that. I would never touch a needle. I'm scared of needles. I don't like needles. They're sharp. They hurt. Who wants to do that?
Right.
It gives you a Hollywood depiction of being a junkie, right? And then there was a graduation until further on down the road, where not so long, but probably a month or two later, where I shot dope intravenously, right? But I had someone do it for me. I made that individual wear gloves and Neosporin. I wanted to be a safe intravenous drug user, right?
I hear you. I don't mean to laugh. But...
My first counselor said, when I told her that, she laughed at me.
No, just say, okay, good. I feel better.
Yeah. She laughed at me. She goes, "Wow, Eric, I've never heard that. But you truly are an all-American junkie." That's what she said to me. All-American junkie. Man, that hurt my ego. I was. There was a bunch of 4-letter words in my mind. My mom raised a better individual, so I didn't let her know that's what I was thinking. But I had a bunch of words I was thinking in my mind when she called me that. But to this day, she was 100% correct. That was me. So
whether you're ready to hear that or not was the issue. I get it. I've heard you tell that before, where it's you never think you're gonna you're gonna do heroin, right? And then next thing you know, you end up you're doing heroin. And my dad asked me one time. He says, when the cat came out of the bag, actually my sister, right, Jennifer found a syringe at my dad's house at the time, and needless to say, she was not happy, right? And that's when my family, my two sisters and my dad, kind of had that intervention with me, and I was filled with a bunch of excuses. I was throwing everybody under the bus, other than me, right? This happens to other people, not me, right? And meanwhile, it was me. And my dad asked me, he says, "Heroin, how did it come to this? Heroin?" He said, "I must have done something wrong. I know your mother did not do anything wrong, so I must have done something wrong. What did I do wrong?" I couldn't explain it. The only words I could muster at that time was, "Dad, I didn't roll out of bed one Tuesday rainy afternoon and say, you know what? Today I'm going to try heroin." It doesn't happen like that. Right.
Comes increasing in you increasingly go in that direction. And that's why I say, when individuals say, "I would never do that," well, that's just a case of the yets if you don't do something about your active addiction, right? If you don't, do what's necessary to obtain that daily reprieve.
So when did you first check into a treatment facility? Because I think it's important, because you mentioned earlier that there were it didn't stick on the first time, or maybe the second, but I'm not. I know you've had a couple stints, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, June. So what I just spoke on with that situation where the cat was out of the bag. My sister found a syringe at the house and talked to my dad. I had a plan. I had a plan of action, right? I can do this. I can get Suboxone off the street. I can just dose myself, once again, self-medicate myself, and then taper myself off. That doesn't work.
That's that done.
Period. It doesn't work, right? So for anybody listening that's struggling, any of the 3 or 4 viewers you got out there, Chris,
6, God damn it, 6.
any of them out there, listen, that doesn't work. Just no jokes about that part. It doesn't work. You need to get yourself some help. Let the professionals do what they're trained and educated to do, right? But I tried that way. A couple days later, I'm back getting the high. And I get a call from an individual. Actually, I got 9 calls from this individual. And I answered about on the 9th or 10th one. That's a true story. And I was so fucking mad that the same phone number kept calling me that I picked up, and I was on one. I was pissed.
You ready to crack somebody?
Yes. So I picked up and answered real angry, like, hello, yelling. I heard a little, am I allowed to say his name, Chris? Am I allowed to, is this someone I should not mention, even though he's been on your show?
Yeah, you could say his name.
Okay, cool. I'm sure he'll like the
He should sponsor this fucking thing, but
yeah, right. So a little meek, mild voice on that. Like, hey, yo, E, what's up, buddy? And I didn't know who it was. I was like, who the fuck is this? And when I asked him that, he goes, you know me, are you dating my sister? And I said, oh man, here we go. Who is this now? Right. I was thinking like, damn, somebody's out front. I'm gonna lace up the shoes. I don't feel good. Like, this is the last thing I need right now, right?
Tape up the knucks, yeah.
Yeah, right. But it was Nick Boatman, right?
Love
and this man, I'm gonna jump ahead. This man saved my life, right? Helped me save my life,
right?
But I needed someone on his knowledge, his experience. It was not an elaborate conversation. It was not an extensive conversation. When he said who it was, I already knew what he was going or had been through and how he was doing at that current time, which was great. It was and still is great.
Yep.
And he simply asked me, Chris, he said, how are you doing, buddy? That's all I needed. That is all that I needed. That is a true story. I cried right then and there. It's the first time someone asked me, how are you doing? Sorry, I had to spit out my tobacco. That's
you got some chaw?
Yeah.
Some Red Chief or whatever from Sandlot? Big Chief.
Yeah. But he asked me that question, Chris, and that's all that I needed. Because everybody wanted to give me direction and tell me what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And that too is because everybody was fear-based. They loved me. They were looking out for me. He simply asked me how I was doing. And man, the floodgates opened. Yeah. I broke down right then and there. I said, not good. I'm dying. I can't live with it. I can't live without it. I don't know what to do. And I was ignorant to the fact that I didn't know what resources were out there outside of dosing myself with Suboxone, right? I went, tried other things that didn't work. And I thought rehab, you need to have a lot of money. Our family comes from humble roots. I had a pocket full of lint and active addiction. You rarely have more than that. I had my job, and I just finished college. I just graduated college. So I started ahead in life, right, on paper per se, and now here I am, full-blown heroin addict, junkie, right? And when I told him I wasn't doing good, he says, I know, man, I know. So my sisters kind of back-channeled and reached out to him. He called me. It was probably a 10-minute conversation. He says, you willing to get sober? You willing to do whatever it takes, man? I said, absolutely. He goes, okay, your plane leaves tomorrow at 8 a.m. I said, well, hold up.
Right.
8 a.m.
Let's get real.
8 a.m. is not even 12 hours from now. What do you mean? Where am I going? And he says, you're coming down to Florida. I own a treatment center. And the next statement, Nick knows me, understands, but I also know Nick, right? And I said, motherfucker, if this isn't real and I get off that plane, we are going to have a very, very thorough diplomatic conversation because it was hard to believe. It was literally somebody called me and was willing to take me by the hand and show me that there's a way out, right? And I'm forever, I have to give him his shine. He knows this. He's one of my best friends and a big brother to me as you are. He took me by the hand, man, and he guided me through the process. He didn't brush my hair and tell me I'm pretty, right? He kept it real. Nick keeps it real, and that's where I've learned a lot, if not most of my knowledge from, is because he's a straight shooter. And
fucking trailblazer for me too. I get it.
Yeah. And I was blown away at the fact, but there was still, because it's all fear-based for me. I'm scared. If someone asks me, what are you scared of? I just shorten it up, right? The narrative is everything. So being a scared young man in active addiction, I didn't know if this was real, what it looked like. I thought detox was a wool blanket, some cafeteria food. Good luck. We'll check your pulse later. And you're thrown in a cell. I didn't know what it looks like. I had a million questions. The only thing I did right was keep that open mind, and I was willing to do whatever it took, man. I really was. Which now, jumping ahead, didn't work out the first time or the first 5 or 6 times, right? But every single time, Chris, I wanted to be clean and sober. I just failed at the implementation part.
Okay.
It's where guys like yourself and Nick, and I could go on. I have a list of them that showed me the way that, as long as you got a lungs full of breath of fresh air left, you got to pull them bootstraps up and get back in there, My sister bought me a portrait of Rocky that says it's not how hard you fall, it's how quick you get back up, right? So that's kind of a motto I try to live by, because I got a bad tendency of bumping my head at everything I do, learning the hard way. So I got to get back in there. And that was where I first got introduced with my first stint, first rehab / resort / vacation, however you want to say it, in South Florida. It was the opposite of what I thought rehab was going to be. And that's when I was able to really, become comfortable with the fact that I identify myself as an alcoholic and also as an addict as well. So
I remember when you went down, and it's just about people you love, brother. Like, weight came off of my shoulder, and then fast forward in between a couple of the times that you spent in Florida, you had came home, and man, I was fired up to see you. We were going to go to a baseball game. You remember that?
Vaguely.
I went. I got us tickets. I was going to take you to Busch. I was about a year and a half into my sobriety journey and recovery, life of recovery, if you will. And I drove over to your house, and what I showed up to was a mess.
Absolutely.
And I knew we were hurting. It was 10:30. It was a day game, I think. Or no, I forget what time.
10:30 is definitely when I started my pregame. So
right. So I think I got over there about 3 because it was a night, 6 o'clock game, and I drove from Webster back over to Fairview Heights over by Belleville, and you let me in, and you were in your bedroom just slamming Fireball and crying, so upset, pissed off at everyone. And I knew there was no fucking way I could take you to Busch Stadium. They were going to let you in. And it takes a lot to for somebody at Busch Stadium to be not allowed in, but I knew. So I had to get him out of I had to get you out of your house because you were self fucking destructing, and we drove over to Webster, and you came over to my house, and I lived next door to my mom, the mama's boy too, make all the jokes. She had come home from something, and we were outside just chatting on the patio, and my mom was walking up, and I go, Mom, it's Eric. You remember Eric Conley? And she saw how bad a shape you were in, and as soon as she was, hi, Eric, and gave you a hug, and you're like, hi, Mrs. Pondoff. You Eddie Haskelled her, too, to kind of, show me how it was done. And when we left, I had to take you home, and it was, about 10 o'clock at night, and you were puking over the Poplar Street Bridge as we were driving home, and I dropped you off, and I said a big fucking prayer, man, and I begged God to get with it and send you the help you needed, and I got in the car, and my mom had texted me. She's like, I'm really praying for Eric. I'm really worried about him. And that next day I had to reach out to Jen, and but it wasn't shortly after that you went back, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah,
did you go to Florida or New Jersey at that point?
No, I was still living in Florida, right? So I flew back, and then I went up to Discovery Institute in New Jersey. Nick, once again, his place in Marlboro, New Jersey. A week before I went back, Nick called me and he asked me. He's like, "Look, man," and he didn't ask me; he told me, and he said, "Look, man, I know you're struggling." And he wanted to give me Narcan, so I was drinking and using. And when I got back, I was using. When I seen you, Chris, I was just but I didn't graduate to the other substances. It was alcohol at that point. But tried to give me a bottle of Narcan, and I was refusing it, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. In denial. And then fast forward a week later after he did that, I called him and begged him for what I told him is that last favor I'll ever ask for, because I didn't have insurance, didn't have money. Once again, right? It's a common theme, and he laid down the line. He says, "Eric, I love you, man, but I'm borderline enabling this, right?" So fast forward, he agreed on the contingency that this is the last time, because he has to draw that healthy boundary. And it all started with that. Like I said, I always wanted it, and when I flew back, I remember this is when you started the Pondoffs Anonymous and started writing with your blogs and stuff and sharing them, and I followed it every time you would post, and I wanted it. I just had to get that practice humility and humbleness, and just my own way, get out of my own way, man. So flew up to Jersey,
and that was it.
That was it. Actually, that was not it.
All right, it keeps on going, Eric. God, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, when I went into Jersey, or Discovery Institute in New Jersey, I was out of detox, transitioned into residential level of care, right? So now I'm an inpatient. 3 days in, somebody had a bright idea who was local on how they could get heroin into the facility. I had some money, right? Sounded like a good idea. And I said, here's some money, give me what I need, and then everybody else, get away from me, right? So I relapsed in treatment, and then was about to be kicked out on the street in New Jersey. My sisters and my dad all but wrote me off at that point.
They have to.
They have to, right? Absolutely. My oldest sister, Angie, she said, listen, I begged and pleaded for her not to write me off. I needed somebody to talk to, right? To know that I'm not doing this all for nothing per se, right? Because that's what's playing in my mind. And she says, Eric, I'm telling you, this, I think she's even said, and she doesn't really talk like that. I swear to God, I swear to mom that this is it. So when I relapsed inside the facility, once again, begged and pleaded, and I was brought up in front of probably about 120 other clients, other members, and publicly humiliated, which was exactly what I needed. Because in there, I was a leader, and they were looking, for me for some advice and my experience and stuff like that. And hopefully it helped them to see that you may have all the knowledge, you may know all the knowledge, but it's what you do with it. And I did the opposite of what I may have been preaching in there.
That's crazy.
And it was a start over point again. That was the last time. That was the last time. And when I was publicly shamed, it was exactly what I needed. I was standing in a puddle of tears, literally, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the place with all the members and such forth, but it was a prime example of, once again, you may want this thing. You may aspire for a life of being clean and sober, but it's what you do with it. It's what you do with it, and it's a daily battle. You got to pull them bootstraps up day in and day out. And if you're not progressing forward with your recovery, then you're going backwards. There's no such thing as staying neutral.
I like that. Complacency too is a dangerous thing. We say that a lot in the business world, but it's, I think, true in the recovery world. So Eric, that's I can't. It's just it's sometimes hard to hear, but so important, like you had mentioned, the transparency, and I can relate to the public humiliation, or the humiliation, that feeling, and it just clicked as you said that, and there's been a couple times that happened to me through my drinking, and definitely alcoholism was my number one, but there was other shit. It was cocaine, or it was the other big one, and there were a couple times where I'd look back, and that feeling, that humiliated feeling, that gut wrenching, and it humbles you quickly, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a a light bulb went off. As we are getting toward the end, I want to talk about what you're doing now, because it's so important. Your work is so important, and I know that you're helping people help themselves on a daily basis, and how it drives you. And to say that I'm fucking proud. I mean, I look up to you, so it's, I'm not trying to give you a fucking hand job here on the air, but you're doing some great fucking work, man. And why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. First off, thank you, Chris. Currently, I'm the director of admissions at Sauna Lake Recovery, local rehabilitation center in Vidmer, Missouri. Man, it's first and foremost, I'm in my dream. I have my dream job. I'm trying to squeeze a couple more nickels out of it. Don't get me wrong. That's always had to throw that in there, Nick Boatman. But it's my dream job, and I say that because it's not that every day is peachy, but every day I get to reflect on, one, how many individuals I get to help, and then two, how far I've come, right? Because the stuff that I say, the knowledge that I may or may not have, it's solely based on just, I say, transparency and honesty. Is individuals that come through the doors looking for help at Sauna Lake, I get the privilege to be honest with them, just talk from experience. This is not scripted. There's no format. It is just me getting real. It's what we're doing now.
Right.
And I get honored to tell them what's taken place, what happened, my experience, strength, and hope, and just tell them there's a phrase, there goes I, and everybody that walks through the door, there goes I. There goes I. There's, even when someone's coming in and they're being a knucklehead, there goes I. Someone's not wanting to, that pain is not great enough or has incentivized them enough internally to make that change. There goes I, right? So I get the privilege, the opportunity to just keep it real and share with them my experience. And as the director of admissions, I get to meet with everybody that walks through them doors, right? And it's an amazing feeling. One, because the facility in itself is helping so many individuals. We opened last year, 2019, in August 1st, and we just blasted off, right? So that's a bittersweet thing, right? Unfortunately, the epidemic and so many people, the opiate epidemic, and now it's transitioned to other substances as well. But this area needed a premier facility, a dual diagnosis facility that could help individuals struggling with the disease of addiction, right? Our clinical team and everything is, I can go on and on. Our clinical team and medical team is phenomenal. And it's a beautiful facility.
I've been there, yeah.
Right? You've been there opening day, Chris. Open house. And it's got that serene feel to it and allows you to get, an opportunity to hit that restart button, focus on yourself. And it's starts from the top down, the co-founders, and all the way down to the peasants, such as myself. Right? We get the opportunity to just create our footprint in the industry with a unique approach. And it's in the area, the Midwest here, where addiction is run rampant. And it's a premier facility. And like I said, you don't have to travel to South Florida like I did. It's out in the sticks, right?
Yeah, it is. It needs to be, though. It needs to be.
Yeah. So that it's a great thing because it's beautiful out there in the country. But I don't know. When Nick told me it was Dittmer, Missouri, I said, "Where? Who?" I never quite heard of that.
Did the Deliverance theme song play?
Yeah, exactly. A guy out front playing a banjo. I think the town population is 16, but so all jokes aside, it's a beautiful facility, and I get the opportunity to help individuals on a daily basis. It is truly a blessing for me. And since we've opened, we've helped over 800 individuals, and we just we're not even at our year marker yet.
Right.
It's incredible, and we're expanding. So. It reminds me of now that having this position, I always say this, it reminds me of going backwards, right? There's mile markers in your life and in your career, right? So Molly stuck with me, my fiance, stuck with me through active addiction. When I was doing well, I had almost 9 months clean and sober, the second go around after treatment. I was doing well, saving some money. Still driving a 1995 Nissan Maxima, which I think you had one too, Chris. Right?
Yeah.
That's my baby, right?
I didn't have any oil in it. That was the car that
is Old Faithful, right? And we went to the beach, and here's a mile marker, right? So this is my job now is a mile marker that I love. Back then, a mile marker was we went to the beach. We put down towels, and people on the beach are blankets, and you lay in the sand, you enjoy the ocean and the sun. Before we went to the beach, I bought beach chairs, right? And they're $40 a piece. They got cup holders, they're a backpack. You don't have to sit on the sand. I don't like sand, right? The beach to me could be all concrete. I would enjoy it.
Amen. I'm a pool guy.
Yeah.
Sand on my ass.
We're sitting on the beach chairs. And I lit up a cigar, and Molly looks at me. She goes, "Why are you so happy?" And I said, honey, we got beach chairs. We made it. I puffed on my cigar. I had life figured. We made it, honey. We got beach chairs. And it shows you that it's the small things, right? It's the small things. And then now, contingent upon your sobriety, further on down the timeline, here I am at Sonna Lake, Director of Admissions, and we made it, right? We made it. It's incredible. It's awesome, and it's a great feeling. I'm blessed to have this opportunity, and hopefully I only continue to grow in my recovery and my faith and my personal and professional lives as well.
Well, you have your mother's strength, and period. I mean that, and to others, that may sound like a nice compliment, but it's a fact, and what your mom's strength more than anyone, and what.
Sure.
And her resolve, and she's a fucking warrior, and you are as well, and you have that in you, and your story gives so much hope out there to people that are at or nearing rock bottom. We know that land, and for the people that are listening that have Eric's in their lives and Chris Pontiff's in their lives, and Nick Boatman's in their lives. He was he's been there too. There's hope, and there's places out there that'll take you. Sonna Lake being one of them. We're not affiliated by any means with Sonna Lake, but we're all brothers out there, and we're always willing to help the best that we can, and if anybody's willing to help themselves. And there's people out there that are close to St. Louis that you don't have to go to New Jersey or Florida or California or whatever, the passages of fucking Malibu that you see on TV. And there's places right here in St. Louis, a place that can help you change your life. And it doesn't seem possible to you now, but what you're hearing with Eric's story is the impossible becoming possible, and some of the hardest, most gut wrenching shit that someone's gone through, from getting high at his mother's funeral in the bathroom, to being the director of admissions at a beautiful recovery center, and literally help saving people's lives. So, Eric, I love you, man, and I you know that, and I can't thank you enough for being this transparent, brutally honest, and the smart aleck fuck that you are.
You told me one time, Chris. You said, asshole, I know how you're clean and sober if you still got your slick mouth and your witty fucking comments. I believe that's in quote.
Yeah, you know what, and that means you're doing good.
That's it. That's it. I like to have fun, and that's what it's about, man. As we all should, as you do, myself, and countless others who are clean and sober, man.
And it's just so possible. That's the message here, guys. I want you guys to know that, and we're here to help. So if you need to, you know how to reach out to us, and I can get you in touch with Eric and Nick out there at Sonna Lake and a Heartbeat, and they'll try to make they'll make it work. They'll get you a spot, and we'll show you give you the tools. They'll give you the tools. They'll sit with you in the fucking pit, because they can empathize and they can show you the way, and it doesn't just save your own life, but it really does save the lives of the people that are in your circle that love you the most, and that their happiness relies on your health. That's what families are. and that's what they do. And Eric, you come from one of the best, and I love all you guys. And thanks for being here. And before we close, I want to show you. I was getting. I've had this forever, and I didn't know at the time. I'm going to give these to you, but these are the tickets to the Cardinals game that I saved. That we missed. And we
missed. Does that have a refund, like a rain check?
No, I wish, but we're gonna make it up, and I'm gonna give you. I kept these, and I sticky noted it Eazy-E. That's what I coined that nickname for this little guy.
Yeah, you did. It's stuck still to this day.
I asked Jeff to open the show today with "Give Me That Nut" by Eazy-E, and we don't have copyright. We get in trouble for that, but I have these tickets, and I've kept them since that day because I knew there was a problem, but I had all the faith in the world that I was going to be able to give these to you one day when you like you said made it. So next time I see you, I want you to keep these, and I don't care what you fucking do with them. You can't sell them, so don't be they're. But I'm going to keep mine, and I want to give you yours. It's like the two turtle doves on the fucking Home Alone show. It's kind of cute, ain't it?
Absolutely. I like that.
I've always been pretty fucking poetic. You can ask your sister about that. So,
I appreciate that, man. Seriously. That's another one, I'd say, a mile marker, right? That when that happened, man, I needed someone to get real with me that wasn't afraid to hurt my feelings and like I said, brush my hair and tell me I'm pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I needed someone that would say, listen, you need to tighten up and you need to do it fast, right? So I thank you, man. I thank you very much. I love you too, brother. Jeff, thank you. You guys for having me on, man, this opportunity, and maybe for the 3 or 4 viewers out there, maybe I can make
fucking
friends with
6.
Like it's whatever works.
We're just continuing to pound the pavement through this COVID shit, and like we said when we started this thing here, if we can help one person, it's all worth the time and effort and the
right. And with that one person, if you start paying people, I'm gonna need a check.
Yeah, I know it. He's always hustling.
Right?
Yeah.
If you guys blow up and you see what other podcasts are doing and reading the numbers, if that takes place, I'm gonna just need a check.
All right, well, noted. Yeah, he's fucking hustled a couple times on this show already. He's asked for a raise. He's all right. This is gonna get expensive.
That's planting seeds, right? Little cookie crumbs, right? That's just planting seeds, right, Jeff?
That's right, man. Yeah. Man, thanks for being here, though, for real. I hope you know how powerful your story is. Really powerful.
Thank you, brother.
And Eric, pray for you every day, brother. Love you to death. And give your family, tell them all I said hello. Tell your dad I'm keeping up with my car. I get it oil change regularly. I do have somebody key right when I got it. I think it was potentially an X. It got keyed, and there's still I got most of it fixed, but it's a little reminder of how things used to be every time I see it.
Hey, wreckage of the past, brother. Wreckage of the past.
I love it.
I mean, that's why you got to keep like an old 1995 Nissan Maxima laying around, right? But the thought process at that point is, what are we going to do? Hurt it more?
Right, that's a good point. Yeah. Yep, I notoriously drive these cars till the wheels literally come off them. So I have to pay the junkyard to take them.
All right.
Tell everyone I said hello, man. Enjoy your weekend. I know you're working on your tan and your little chiseled fucking abs. You know, you like it. You're looking pretty, and you don't need to no more. You got the girl, all right. You got the girl. You can let it go.
Listen. It ain't. She don't love me for the money. So I got to keep somewhat of the looks going a little bit because it ain't the money.
You got your hair. You got some hair still, so you're good, brother. But now you got her. You can let it go. So go eat a fucking cheeseburger. All right. Thanks for being here, brother. I love you to death. Thanks everyone for listening, and as always, just let us pray. Thanks, guys. Take care.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me.
We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Pondoffs Anonymous is Chris Pondoff and produced by me, Jeff Allen. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondoffsanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.